reality really kicked in that I am completely homeless.
I experienced oral molestation from my mother's husband.
So I was really angry with God. I've been raped as a kid. You made me born deaf.
I went through drugs, prostitution, and I go to this room with this guy and I can hear people in the bathroom. I was tied up. Every orifice of my body was touched.
Mommy's not responsive. She's not breathing. She's cold. I said, call 911. I'm coming home.
I am just excited that you just took time out of your schedule just to share your story. Mm-hmm. And when I looked over your profile, I was like, wow. Powerful life, powerful story. Mm-hmm. Let's just jump straight into it.
Okay.
Where do you see your story? When you look at all of the things that you have experienced, where did it begin? What is the beginning of this?
Oh, well, it started early in my childhood. But I must say, like in the very beginning, it was good because I was in a two-parent home. My mom and dad portrayed to be loving people, parents. My daddy was an amazing person at the time, but my mom didn't love my dad. One day, I saw my mom kiss another man who happened to be the man to introduce her to crack cocaine. And like now, we wonder.
I want to stop right here.
Okay.
Because you just like pierced me.
Yeah.
When you said that.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you at the time?
I was 5.
How did you, at 5 years old, 5, 6, 7, during that time frame, how did you deal with that, knowing that mommy was with daddy, who was amazing?
Oh, man.
And now mommy leaves daddy for someone to introduce her to crack?
I have a question to myself all the time that I ask myself over and over again. How do women say they want a good man and they have him and they throw it all away? And what I've learned from people, my mom said that she was not happy.
Was you angry with your mom?
I was very angry with my mom for years. Even in my early adult years, I was angry with her. And the day that I witnessed her smoking crack cocaine, she and I was in a room with the man. The guy lived in a rooming house. And I know she smoked cigarettes. Her and my dad smoked cigarettes. But this smoke was different.
Okay.
This smoke was different, and they had a can, and they had these little white pieces on top of the can, and it was smoking from the front of the can. And every time I turn around, I can hear her saying, "Nicole, stop looking at me. Nicole, stop looking at me." And I just turn around, and I'm playing with my little Raggedy Ann doll, and all I can hear is them laughing and giggling, and before you know it, they just laying there out of their minds. And I just couldn't believe. I'm like, "Mommy, what's going on?" And she wouldn't respond to me. And I went home that night and I told my daddy. And my daddy thought I just was making it up because my daddy had a best friend with the same name of the guy. And he kept saying, no, baby, no, probably you're having a bad dream. And I'm like, "Daddy, no, I'm telling you, mommy is with another man." And my daddy told me I told him this. And one day I took him to the house. And that's what she was in there doing, smoking with the guy.
And he witnessed it?
He witnessed it.
So you was raised by mom or dad?
My grandma. She wouldn't give me, my mom wouldn't let me go to my daddy. He begged. She called my grandma. My grandma picked me up. I remember vividly going to the Greyhound station. And I stayed with my grandma until 10.
Did you really have, because I often talk to women, and a lot of women have issues with their moms. Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to forgive your mom? Because I know that going through something like that, it's easy to say, "Mom, things could have been different if you did not." So how long did it take you to really forgive her? Or have you forgiven her?
I haven't.
You haven't? You're still struggling?
It's very hard. It's very hard. I started back talking to her when I was 25, and that was only because I discovered I had breast cancer. And her response to me was horrific. So
you had breast cancer?
Yes, I'm a breast cancer survivor. 23 is when I found out.
Okay, we're definitely going to get into that. We're definitely going to get into that. I want to pull back on mom because there's somebody that's watching and their mom is still struggling with drugs. Do you feel like part of you or your life has been cheated? Do you feel like she cheated you of moments and the normal quote unquote life of mommy, dad, or both parents, or co-parenting? Do you feel cheated in some type of way?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I feel that at the times I needed my mom, through illness, through being abused by men, friendships, because I failed the test or passed the test, when I wanted her, when I needed her, she wasn't there. And that, to this day, that really bothers me.
So
That really
grandmother raised you.
My grandmother raised me until she took ill, and I came to Florida to live with my mom.
Okay, so now I was reading in your profile where we talk about a situation that happened with you concerning, before we get into that, what led you up to being promiscuous at that time?
Well, my mom, to this day, is on crack cocaine. She's more functional than she used to be. And I remember a guy used to flirt with me a lot, and my mom noticed that. And she felt as if it would be okay for me to talk to him. But I was against it. I was very adamant against it. And one day, for some reason, one night I was home. Where we lived at, the living arrangements was very small.
Okay.
So one night, for some reason, my mom decided that we all need to sleep in the bed together. Me and my sister, this man.
And the guy.
Yes. And there was a lot of moving going on in the bed, and of course, that was one of the reasons it was hard for me to sleep. And before you know it, I can feel a hand on my backside.
And your mom is in the bed.
My mom is in the bed.
Your mom is in the bed.
We all are in the bed.
With the guy. And she knows this is happening to you.
Yes.
For someone that is experiencing this right now, what is their emotion? What is your emotion at that night when you first felt the hand touch you? What was going on in your mind at that time?
I wanted to scream. For one, I was so against being here. When I came to Miami, I didn't want to be here. I just wanted to be back with my Grammy. That's it. And I felt so bad. I got tired of looking at my mom in those drunken spirits. I got tired of looking at her when she was doped out. And I know telling her because it was conversations we had before, when I tell her stuff, she didn't believe me. And I know because this was her man, she wasn't gonna believe me. And I just laid there and I screamed out loud, but I was silent. And I can feel the fingers of this person, these hands of this person investigating what was between my legs and covering my face. And all I felt like my head was a grape in a giant's hand. And
how old were you?
10.
10 years old.
10. So he was my boogeyman. And in cartoons, the boogeymans are considered supervillains.
Right.
And the only way you're saved from a supervillain is a superhero. That's what I was thinking. But who was going to be my superhero? Because my mother wouldn't believe me.
Right.
My baby sister, she couldn't do anything. And
so where is grandma now?
my grandma, she's moved on. She's passed away.
She passed away. So pretty much after grandma passed, life just went haywire.
Oh, yes.
The boogeyman came out. How often did he come out?
As often as I would allow him, until I was 13, and I stabbed him with an ice pick.
So you was molested from 10
to 13.
A 10-year-old plays with dolls. They color, they skip, they write, that's what the typical 10-year-old do. They laugh, they play. But here you being 10 years old, and you're really dealing with something you had no business going through it, so young, so tender. How, when you think back now, how was you able to even function knowing that I'm trapped? Mom is here, but it's like mom is not here. What gave you that drive to move on to the next day? Because from me listening to you, it almost looked like a hopeless situation.
For me, and one thing because I know a lot of people, my grandma always stayed with me up until
So
now.
you felt her spirit
Like my grandma kept
carrying
us
you?
in church.
Okay.
My grandma, even through my darkest hours, there was light for me, there was hope. I always believed that there was something on the other side.
Okay.
To me, my mother was just somebody who birthed me. My grandma was my mother.
Okay.
I didn't know who this lady was. She gave me away. If she loved me, when I did run into my mom, she was pregnant. I saw in a picture, she called me, and one of her reasons for giving me to my grandma was because she couldn't take care of me, but then she was pregnant.
Did you ever tell your dad about what the boyfriend was doing to you?
I did.
And what was his response?
My dad was hurt, but my dad was a homosexual,
Okay.
and that's why my mama couldn't love him.
Okay. So
She was dealing with her own demons.
Okay. So we're gonna touch that a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to get into what we talked about in the profile,
Mm-hmm.
and you talked about a night where you found yourself with 6 men.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Prior to that, I felt the only way to get my mom love is to just go with what she want me to go with. So I was sleeping with men for her to have drugs.
So she was pretty much prostituting you.
Pretty
basically.
much. And then I came up with, hey, look, if I'm gonna be sleeping with her, we're sleeping with men for her to have drugs, I can do it for me with money. I mean, we went a year without lights, and when I say we, me and my mom, her boyfriend, my sister, we went a year without lights. I was constantly being embarrassed in school. I became a high school dropout because I had a guy come to me and say my mom was his best customer. And I always had a rule not to go to the hotel with somebody who had a room, and I did it anyway. And I go to this room with this guy, and I can hear people in the bathroom.
Okay.
So when they came out, I heard the whispers of my demise while they're in there. And they're like, look, we're gonna do what we gotta do, and someone was kind of confused what we're gonna do. She's seen our faces, and the only thing I could tell them, if you're paying for it, you don't have to take it.
So you, at that moment, you felt that they was gonna hurt you or kill you.
Absolutely. And I was upset with myself, but I couldn't let them see me sweat.
So you was in survival mode.
I immediately kicked
For
in survival
someone
mode.
that's watching right now that may have made the mistake of going to a hotel and they have put themselves in a situation, just explain to them mentally how you fought through that. Because I can't imagine, being in a situation like that. I'm just being honest, where I have 6 people, 6, 7, who knows,
Yeah.
whatever, and they're violating my body. How did you feel? Did you you didn't want to scream? Did you want to, just thinking about all of that at that time, what was going on in your mind?
At that moment, it was very loud. It was deafening silence, actually. I wasn't thinking. It was just, I grew this disdain towards, I hated men. It really didn't matter to me. I just wanted to get this over with. I was upset with myself. And whatever happened at that point.
You willingly went to the hotel?
I willingly went to the hotel with one guy. And my rules were, because that's what I was selling myself. I was selling myself, selling drugs, doing whatever it was to get by, to not go to the hotel with guys, to not take my heart to the bed, to not kiss in the mouth, to not make it personal. Just go what you're going for and just leave. And I fought myself for years because I went to that hotel. Because anything could have happened. Because it was one hothead there that was willing to look, I don't care what happened to the, look.
He's gonna kill you.
Pretty much.
Okay, was you physically abused at that time?
Yes, absolutely.
So they was punching you?
I was tied up. They tied me
up.
And every orifice of my body was touched. I had bottles stuffed in me, ice, everything. I was bleeding out of every hole.
How old were you?
I was 17.
17 years old.
Yeah, and I was on my second
tied
baby.
up like an animal. Mm-hmm. Being forced by 6 men.
Mm-hmm.
Have suicide ever crossed your mind?
Several times. several times, on several occasions. But every time I thought about it, I always thought about my children, and I always thought about she'll love me one day. And by she, I mean my mama. Because my father was a homosexual, she said that I was from a child from hell, and that God didn't love me, and she can't love me.
Let me ask you something, Angie. Do you feel like some of the things that have happened to you, you have allowed because you're looking for mom? You have put yourself
absolutely.
in a position.
Oh, that is one of the
So
main
that is
things.
the
Looking for
rule.
love, period.
That's the rule.
I mean, because I got upset with my father too, because I felt like he didn't fight hard enough. My father isn't no longer with us, but I'm telling you, all those things.
So your father has passed as
yes.
well.
Like I feel
So
like
you just have your mom living. So you pretty much really kind of went parentless.
absolutely
Outside of
I
the
had
grandmother.
to do it all by myself, and I raised my sister.
Okay, now let's get into the sex trafficking. Let's talk about that.
Well, it wasn't. I was drug trafficking.
Okay,
What
drug
I
trafficking.
said is that I'm not a victim of sex trafficking, but I am a victim of sexual exploitation.
Okay.
Selling my body for money, but I trafficked drugs, and I got caught at the border. And
What was that day like?
Oh, that was crazy. But that was just me and my hard head reasons of wanting more. Once upon a time, I used to live of the world, worrying about what the world think. That time I had 3 children, and working wasn't enough for me. I needed more. I wanted more. Government assistance wasn't enough for me. So I was, going back and forth on these trips, sometimes getting 2-3 hours of sleep. And it's just this one time I wasn't as calculated as I should have been, and I got caught.
Okay, so how long did you stay in jail?
I did 3 months. Where I was at, they had to waive the indictment, and then an attorney came for me.
And at that time you had kids.
I had children, yeah. I had
Okay,
3.
during that time, during those 3 months, was that the turning point for you during those 3 months, or
No.
no? So where was your mind in those 3 months of being in jail?
I didn't want to lose my children.
Okay.
But I had friends at the time that took care of my kids. My
Okay.
family refused. The family that I sent money to, the family whose bills I paid, they were saying
So your blood family wouldn't
refused
help
to
you.
take care of my children.
So
yeah.
your friends took care of your kids.
Yeah, the friends I had at the time, who have not grown to be my family, they took care of my kids just to keep DCF out of the pictures.
Wow. So after coming out of jail, what happened then?
Well, I want to tell you, when I was in jail, that was horrible. I want to let you know.
Yeah,
that.
let's
They
talk
beat me
about
bad.
that.
When I was in jail,
You
it was
was
horrible.
beaten
I was
in jail?
beaten. They broke my arm in jail. I was a hothead. I did a lot of things. I was in a very small town. Maybe 140 people lived there, and no matter, I must give honor and a praise to God, because no matter what I went through, like, He always sent something my way. And the person who I was in the cell with, this young lady, they were speaking Spanish, and she told me everything they were saying. She was telling me when there was glass in my food. She told me because it was cold up there, just around November, and she was telling me when they was gonna cut off the hot water. When I did get out of jail, I was supposed to be released that morning. They refused to release me that morning. They didn't want to reduce my bail. They released her, and she waited for me till they released me 11:30 that night. And as I was walking out of the precinct, I see this car, like the lights were off, but it was raging at me. And I hear somebody making this noise, like this bird call, and it was the girl. She waited for me.
So how many girls? It was one girl?
It was one girl. The girl who told me what was going on, she waited for me. And we hitchhiked our way back to her hometown.
Okay. No, moving back, because I want to get to the broken arm.
Okay.
How many people jumped you to
Oh, it's
break your arm?
officers.
Oh, the officers
Yeah.
broke your arm.
Yeah. I had a
Okay.
lot of. So apparently, it's like the judge is the granddaddy, the auntie and the uncles are the sheriffs, and the
Okay,
nieces
so a
and
family,
nephews. It was a
okay.
family thing. And I always cursed. I was wild. Like, I cared for my children, at least that's what I said. But at that moment, it's just,
Is it safe to say you was angry?
Of course.
You was hurt?
Absolutely.
And basically
Agree.
you was reacting
Yes.
from 5-year-old on up.
Come on. If your mama don't care about you,
Yeah.
who, you know?
Right.
And I'm thinking living this way is showing my kids I love them, but it wasn't. I just was upset and I was screaming and nobody hear me. I was screaming,
Right.
you know? So they was upset with that. When I went, my bond was $500,000. And when I went to write a letter to ask them to reduce it, all I remember her writing back, no, how do I know you was not bringing that drugs to my family?
Wow.
So she refused to do that, and I had to wait till they waived the indictment, sitting there 3 months, 3.5 really, and an attorney came for me. At the time I was messing with a Bell's bombing down here, God rest his soul. And he was gonna come get me when it first happened, and it was like, oh, we don't trust nobody from where you from. And they made me sit.
Wow.
And there's days I didn't eat, but I suffer from grand mal seizures because of many blows to the head from one of my children's father. And I was having, well, according to the girl, she said I was having a seizure and they thought I was faking it. And they kept trying to pin my arm back, but I don't know if you know aware, when you have a seizure, you get the tonic colonic, the heart
Right,
muscles.
right.
And when it was pulling it back, they broke my arm.
Okay. Let's talk about breast cancer. 23 years old.
23.
How did you find out that you had cancer?
Well, as I mentioned, I was like in several abusive relationships. And for some reason, I was attracted to hurt people who were unavailable. And when I say unavailable, I mean mentally, physically, emotionally. They were unavailable. I'm hurt, they hurt. I used to get in so many fights where lumps and bruises was a norm for me.
Okay.
Like, that didn't matter to me. Until one day, there were pus and blood dripping from my nipple area. And I was working, and they happened, where I was at, I was selling tickets, and the customer happened to notice my shirt was drenched with blood and it was wet. So I went to the emergency room, and that's when we discovered that I had breast cancer.
Breast cancer at 23. So you had to go through chemo and
Radiation.
And radiation. The whole. Okay, so moving from, this is overwhelming, just to be so young, to experience so many traumatic things. I did want to revisit your relationship with your dad.
Okay.
Do you feel as if your dad was a dad for you?
Absolutely.
Or you? How do you feel about your dad?
I love my daddy.
Okay.
Even though I don't think he fought hard enough for me.
Okay.
But I don't understand. I
So
don't
you
know what
don't
it was.
blame him and
No.
Amy? Okay.
No. I just don't think he fought hard enough. But dealing with my mom, who my mom is, and no matter how wrong my grandma children's are, they are right to her. So she helped my mom fight back. Even when they was trying to take me and he used the drug abuse, he still couldn't win. And I think that I honor my daddy more because my father was a foster child.
Okay.
And he came out of whatever he was in,
Okay.
So my dad was my everything, but I just don't think he fought hard enough.
Now how many kids you have now?
I have 6.
You have 6 kids. Going back over your life, what are some of the things now that you think as a parent, when you look at your kids, what are some of the things that, when it comes to protecting them and covering them, what do you try and do, or you didn't do that at the beginning and now you're working on it? Like, what is that relationship now with you and your kids?
Smothering for them, but for me, it is, I sleep good at night.
Okay.
I'm very overprotective.
Overprotective.
Even
Okay.
my oldest child is 23, and I think I hindered her from finding herself because I did not have a teenage life. I lived vicariously through her.
Okay.
She saw a lot of things that I went through with men, even when I had breast cancer, when I was reconstruction, because I went 1 year without a breast. And my older baby, she was there. Like, even as a little girl, they missed like the first 3-4 months of school during my treatment because I didn't have nobody to help me, even though I had a guy. And because he beat me every day. He was my biggest monster. I would have loved to have the chemo.
So wait a minute.
He was my biggest monster.
Okay, so rape, being
Physical
abandoned, physical abuse. Now the man you love is physically abusing you as well?
Absolutely. Let me tell you, I connected love with sex and trauma. If you beat me, you love me. And with this guy,
I mean, did he physically beat you?
This man physically removed my breasts after being reconstructed.
Wait.
Like this man,
How is that possible?
well, when I had the
He
breast,
removed it?
yes. So when I
Ripped it?
well, let me tell you. So when I had the breast cancer, I had stage 3B inflammatory. And because I was young and it was so aggressive, the surgeon at the time thought it was best to keep a breast off.
Okay.
And not to reconstruct with the silicone. So I
Okay.
went a year without a breast, felt in deep depression.
Right.
I'm talking
Being young,
23 years old,
23.
of the limelight.
Right.
I always went after drug boys who had money. So this was this guy. And when I was reconstructed, they did it from my belly. They call it a
Okay.
tram flap. So that's skin. That's
Right,
all they're
skin
doing.
tissue.
And they taking the muscle from my back and from one of my cyst packs. So nothing is really attached right now, attached. So we come home from it and I'm feeling good. I cosmetic surgery and did my breasts. Now I got a tummy tuck and me and him got in an argument. I woke up from him knocking me out and my breast was gone.
I'm having a hard time trying to.
He just took whatever they used here, they removed surgically from here and made on my breast, they took it. He took it off. I woke up, it was gone in a puddle of blood. And my children was there, they witnessed it. My first 4 kids.
They witnessed that.
I did seven rounds of chemo and my baby is now 14 years old while I was pregnant with her.
Okay, when you experienced that, did you stay in that relationship?
Yes.
You stayed in a relationship. Why did you stay in a relationship?
Because he loved me. He loved me.
felt like
he
he
never gave up on me. That's why I understand what a lot of
Are you
these
still
women are
with
doing.
him?
Oh, no, he's dead.
Until next week, you guys, we're going to continue the story with Miss Nikki. Listen, I am like broken in so many pieces internally, from the breast cancer to 5 years old to dealing with a mother that's, is battling crack cocaine, to just all of the things, all of the loss, going to jail, we got to talk about this a little more. So until next week, you guys, please tune in next week as real people heal people. Be healed.